Let's think about now selling the stock in two periods. Suppose you were going to do that. Then what would your expected cash flows be? In one period, you would expect D1. In two periods, you would expect D2. And then you would sell the stock and you would expect to sell it for P2. So what is the value of the stock today? Well, remember, it's just the present value of the expected cash flows. So in one period, you expect this dividend, so it's going to be D1 over 1 plus R. In two periods, you're going to expect the second dividend, so D2 over 1 plus R squared, plus you would then sell the share of stock for expected price, so you expect to get P2, so you divide that or discount that by two periods, and that is the expected price of the stock today. And again, R is the annual return divided by the number of dividends in the year. So if it's 4 dividends per year, R is equal to the annual expected return divided by 4. More generally, you go out to some point in time in your time machine. The dividend gets paid in that morning. You jump out of your time machine in the afternoon and say, how much is my stock worth? Well, one period later, you would expect this dividend. 2 periods later, you'd expect this. And then 2 periods after you get out of your time machine, you would expect the price to be equal to this. You could sell the stock for that, turn that into cash. And so the price at any point in time, in a sense, you're basically, the time machine is saying, okay, here's the new time 0, here's the new time 1, and here's the new time 2. The dividend in one period after you get out of your time machine divided by 1 plus R, plus 2 periods later after you get out of the time machine, you expect a dividend, and then you would sell the stock for this price divided by 1 plus R squared. So let's take a look at Aspen stock, and suppose you're going to hold it for 2 years, and the expected return is 20% per year. In 1 year, the dividend is expected to be $2. In 2 years, the dividend is expected to be $2.10, and in 2 years, the price is expected to be $14.70. Well, what's the price of the stock today? Well, again, you own something that's expected to pay you $2 in a year with a discount rate of 20%, so 2 over 1.2. Then 2 years later, pay you a dividend of $2.10, sell it for $14.70. So the sum of that divided by 1.2 squared. And that's what we have there, and we can see the price of the stock is $13.33. Why? Because in one period we expect a dividend of $2, but it's in one year, so it has a present value of about $1.67. In 2 years, we expect a total of $16.80, $2.10 from the dividend, sell it for $14.70. But $16.80 isn't $16.80 today, it's $16.80 in 2 years, so it is worth only about $11.67. So the sum of the present value of all the cash flows, $13.33. And again, you'll notice that $13.33 is what we computed for this Aspen stock in the 1 period holding company example. Here we get $13.33, and it's important that it doesn't matter when we imagine selling it, or even if we imagine selling it, we're always going to get the same price. So the price of the stock is the price of the stock today, and it's based on the expected value of future cash flows, and as long as we use the appropriate cash flows, it doesn't matter when we assume we sell it at 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, or never, as long as, given that assumption, we use the right cash flows. In this case for Aspen, we'd always get $13.33. So we want to know, what do we expect Validor to be priced in 6 months? Currently it's priced at 25. In 3 months we expect a dividend of 52 cents, and in 6 months we expect 55 cents. And it has an expected annual return of 16%. Well, again, here we're dealing at 3 months, 6 months. So what is the appropriate rate of return for 3 months? It's just the 16% for a year divided by 4 quarters per year, so it's 4% per quarter. So we're in a situation where we have a stock that's valued at $25. And the reason it is because the present value of the expected cash flows equals $25. And what are those? 52 cents in 3 months, 55 cents in 6 months, plus the mystery price in 6 months. And so now we've just got some algebra where we can 0.52, 52 cents divided by 1.04 is equal to 50 cents. So you can subtract 50 cents from both sides. Multiply both sides by 1.04 squared, subtract 55 cents, and you can see that the expected price is $25.95. So basically, if we have a stock that's expected to put 52 cents in our pocket in 3 months from a dividend, 55 cents in our pocket in 6 months from today because of a dividend, and that we could sell for $25.95, or we expect to sell for $25.95, so we'll put that in our pocket. The present value of those 3 expected cash flows is $25, which is why the price of the stock today is $25. So let's look more generally at an N period holding company, or N period holding period. Suppose we're going to sell it in N periods, any number of periods. Then what's the price of the stock? It's just the present value of all the dividends up until the point that we sell. And we get that last dividend in the morning, sell the stock in the afternoon, get its price, and take the present value of all those, and that's the price of the stock. And again, discount rate is just the annual rate divided by the number of dividends per year. And again, we've talked about this. It does not matter when you imagine selling it, you always get the same value. And we'll see why that is when we talk about the dividend discount model. More generally, you take your time machine out to this point in time. This dividend was already paid, so here we are. Look, in 1 period we expect this, 2 periods we expect that, all the way out to N periods we expect that. We get our last dividend, then we sell it for this. Expected cash flows discounted back to this point in time. Again, time machine resets, that's the new time zero, and you can get the price that we expect at any point in time by simply looking at some of the subsequent dividends and an expected price at some later point in time. So Aspen stock, suppose you're thinking about holding it for 4 years. Dividend of $2 in a year, $2.10 in 2 years, $2.20.5 in 3 years, $2.31.5 in 4 years. In 4 years, it's expected to be priced at $16.21, so you could sell it for $16.21. And now we have a slew of expected cash flows that are consistent with holding it for 4 years. What's the value of the stock going to be? Well, it's going to be $13.33. Let's see why that is. You expect $2 in a year, which has a value of about $1.67. You expect $2.10 in 2 years, which is worth roughly $1.46. 3 years you expect $2.20.5, which is worth about $1.28. And then in 4 years you expect your dividend of $2.31.5, plus you expect to sell it for $16.21. So you expect about $18.52.5, but it's in 4 years. So you have to discount it back by 4 years at 20%. It's only worth about $8.93. You add those up and you get $13.33. And then the solution goes out 4 decimal places so that you wind up with $13.33 and not something a little bit different because of rounding. What's Pendleton stock expected to be in 7 years? It has an annual expected return of 12%, dividends of $1 in 7 years, $2 in 8 years, $3 in 9 years, $4 in 10 years, and in 10 years we expect it to be worth $40. So again, we take our time machine. We want to know what the price is expected to be in 7 years, so this is where we take our time machine. And again, remember, we're going to get out in the afternoon, so that $1 dividend isn't relevant. What is relevant is that we get out of our time machine, and 1 period later, we expect $2. 2 periods after we get out of our time machine, we expect 3. And 3 periods after we get out of our time machine, we expect a dividend of 4, and then we also expect that we'd be able to sell the stock for $40. So what do we expect the price to be? We expect the price of the stock in 7 years to be $35.50. Why is that? Because when we get out of the time machine with our piece of paper, we say, aha, how much is this worth? Well, in a year, it's expected to give me $2, which is roughly $1.79. 2 years after we get out, it's $3, which has a present value as of the time we get out of about $2.39. Then 3 years after we get out, we expected to put $44 in our pocket, 4 from a dividend, 40 from what we anticipate being able to sell it for. Discount it back 1, 2, 3 years. That has a value of 31.32 as of the point in time we get out of our time machine. So when we get out of our time machine, our piece of paper is worth $35.50. That's what we expect the price to be in 7 years. What do we expect the price to be in 6 years? Well, now we're in a situation where we get out here, and the next dividend's $1 in a year, $2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4 plus 40 and 4. And we just discount all those, and we get $32.59. Again, the dollar has a present value of about 89 cents. The $2 worth about $1.59. Again, as of times 6 is when I say present value as of times 6. As of the kind of the new time 0 when we get out of our time machine. $3 worth about $2.13.5, and the $44 that we would expect 1, 2, 3, 4 years after we get out is worth about $27.96. So the whole thing is worth $32.59. Now there's actually, let me show you an alternative way that one could go about solving this. Is in the previous example, we saw that P7 is equal to 35.50. So we also are in a situation where we get out of our time machine and we say, aha, look, 1 year later, we expect a dollar dividend. And 1 year later, we also expect that we could sell our stock for $35.50. So 1 year after we get out of our time machine, we expect this stock puts $36.50 in our pockets, and then we're done. We're never going to get any more cash because we've sold it. What's the present value of that? $36.50 over 1.12, $32.59. So a lot of times when you're trying to price a stock, there's multiple ways to get at it, but they're all actually based on the same idea. Because remember, where did the price of $35.50 come from? It came from the D8, D9, D10, and P10.